Let me begin by saying that Antonio Guterres, in his September report on our common agenda, observed, and I quote, that humanity faces a stark and urgent choice, and that was breakdown or breakthrough. The Secretary General regretted the present instability of multilateral institutions to deliver bold solutions to the COVID-19 pandemic, to issues related to climate change, sustainable development, and protracted conflicts across the globe. The ongoing failure to deliver COVID-19 vaccines to the global population is the latest and most prominent evidence of the weakness of our existing multilateralism. Even faced with a profound common threat, old hierarchies have re-established themselves. The zero-sum thinking fails to appreciate the simple fact that for any of us to be safe, all of us have to be safe. And this is a problem for our globe. If we continue to display the same attitude in our pursuit to overcoming the effects of climate change and biodiversity loss, the results will undoubtedly be disastrous. From where we sit, we need a new global multilateralism that puts global Africa at its heart, and if we are to respond adequately to the Secretary General's call for meaningful change, we need to do so urgently. Many of the actions that are currently powering Kenya's foreign policy in the last few years have reflected our desire as a country to lead in re-energizing and redirecting multilateralism and ensuring that Africa takes its place, not merely as a recipient of aid, but as a critical actor in delivering solutions to our world. Africa, ladies and gentlemen, is global. There are almost 2 billion people of African descent in the world. They live on multiple continents, and unfortunately, for reasons of history, often share a similar experience of exclusion from the fruits of global industry, trade, and investment. We have the youngest population in the world, and one way or another, this population will travel. It will travel to all corners of the world, and this travel will either be a desperate search for employment and safety, or as a financially able tourist seeking to enjoy the world's attractions. Today, the mobile phone in each of our pockets, the electric car that we say is the future, and rechargeable batteries, the jewelries that we wear, and so many other important products could not be made except for Africa's resources. Today, most developed economies in manufacturing, medical technology, and energy development need Africa's resources as a core component of their economic production. Let me clarify just why it is so important for the world to wake up and listen to Africa and rebuild multilateralism to be inclusive, fair, but most importantly, consistent. The challenge of the modern African experience has existed for over 500 centuries. It was born of the experience of slavery and colonialism and its residual effects in our families, communities, and in most of our countries. However, the idea of the global Africa that I wish to propose today is one that we need to build. It will reconnect and re-engage with African peoples wherever they are on our planet, and indeed also connect with all people of goodwill in a common enterprise of uplift, dignity, and independence. Global Africa embraces the philosophical ideals of what we call negritude Harambe, Ujamaa, Ubuntu, and politically, it is the abolitionist movement, the Pan-African Congress, the anti-colonial and civil rights movement, and the African Renaissance. Pan-Africanist advocates of these ideas and movements have been urging for change in global relations for over a century. When they have not been heeded, humanity in one way or another has suffered. At the turn of the 20th century, they warned about the entrenching of racist thinking and the fake science that powered it. They argued it degraded humanity and created systems of oppression and exploitation that were intolerable. They identified the lack of freedom and equity between peoples as a danger to the world. Unfortunately, too few paid heed to them. As a result, fascism rose unimpeded until it reached its most radical and violent expression in Nazism and the explosion of the Second World War, where tens of millions were killed in war, including the unfortunate tragedy of the Holocaust. When the Pan-Africanists next warned that decolonization needed to be genuinely free, the colonies were not paid the attention that they deserved. Today, the world continues to live with a tragic legacy of that incomplete colonization. The Security Council today, as a result, spends the majority of its time discussing conflicts in Africa. Often, if not in every instance, one of the root causes of such conflicts is how decolonization was poorly undertaken over half a century ago. So today's Pan-Africanists, of which I am proud to call myself one, are calling for multilateralism to urgently respond adequately to the issues of today, to address itself to climate change, biodiversity loss, as well as the multiple protracted security challenges that we face. As I said, we need a new multilateralism with global Africa at its heart. It will reject discrimination and racism as part of our way of doing business. The problems that we face today are far too serious, our future far too important to leave out any country, no matter its size, to leave out any race, and for that matter, to leave out any gender. We all need to have a stake in the solutions that humanity is yearning for today. So I propose that we embrace this new understanding and build on it. And next month at COP26, being one such forum, in Glasgow, we are supposed to negotiate the scale of commitments and targets to set. What should power these negotiations, I believe, is the ambition to provide Africa and the broader developing world with a viable path to rapid industrialization as part of our global journey to net zero. The failure to do so is too grim to contemplate. Today's political and economic refugee flows across our borders will be tiny by comparison to what will happen if we fail to act today. Seizing this moment, on the other hand, will have major benefits for all of humanity. Take, for instance, the green industrial park that Kenya is developing in the outskirts of a town called Naivasha, where we have over 10,000 acres to house manufacturing concerns that will almost entirely be powered by green geothermal energy. They will be connected to an efficient port by railway infrastructure. And companies that take advantage of the opportunity will be making an important contribution not only to the development of our country, but also to their regulatory and ethical drive to achieve net zero. Kenyans will benefit from decent employment and rising prosperity, and our continent, and indeed the entire global South, are filled with such opportunities. As many of the workers in the wealthiest economies age, their retirement needs require higher returns in order for developed countries to be able to afford them. Africa, its young population, and its need to develop is a logical investment choice to earn these returns. That will happen when there is a wider appreciation by the wealthiest that Africa is not a zone for unjust exploitation, but instead it is a potential engine for immense mutual benefit to all its investors. The new multilateralism will need to embrace such enlightened self-interest rather than the failed approaches of past thinking of aid as a one-sided benefit. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the Security Council giving voice to this plan. Our actions are guided by enabling Africa's voice and interests to be a primary actor in solving our security challenges, not just for Africa's sake, but for the sake of our African diaspora and indeed the global South. In early September of this year, I hosted the first Africa CARICOM Summit. This historic meeting reflected the consciousness of the global Africa. We made commitments to work together for the benefit of our people and our world. Indeed, just last Sunday, I flew to New York from Barbados, where I handed over the chairing of the UN Conference on Trade and Development to the Prime Minister of Barbados. On the sidelines of that meeting, I met leaders from the Caribbean, and we all expressed deep concern about the challenges that Haiti is facing. And we all believe that we need to do more than empathize from a distance. Haiti happens to be one of the situations in the Security Council whose multiple crises concern Kenya the most. As part of the Caribbean, Haiti is part of the African Union's 6th region. We are joined by bonds of ancestry and a cultural heritage. So we all feel that it is our duty to demonstrate our solidarity in the same way we did early in the year by enabling global vaccine procurement for the Caribbean countries in ways that were unimaginable in pre-COVID times. Through the African state-driven AU Africa Vaccine Acquisition Trust, we have been able to offer Caribbean countries the benefit of Africa's economies of scale in pricing and procurement. Motivated by the same consciousness of a global Africa, I look forward to soon facilitating a meeting that will assemble Haiti, Africa, CARICOM, and other global partners to demonstrate practical solidarity for the people of Haiti in line with their own priorities. As we will start later this week on the 15th with the A3+1 hosting an area formula meeting on Haiti that will seek Pan-African solutions and pathways to support national dialogue and reconciliation. And even as we begin, we want to demonstrate through our actions that outstretched hand that outstretched hand of global Africa. And to this end, my administration is crafting a training and capacity building program for Haiti. And we will commit to offering 2,000 places for Haitians in our military, police, nursing, teaching, government administration, and criminal justice training institutions. We will seek partners to help co-finance these opportunities. Haitians clearly need more than emergency and humanitarian assistance. They need sustainable development assistance in order for them to come out of their current problems. I also urge the Security Council to take steps to strengthen the mandate of the United Nations Integrated Office in Haiti so that it is fit for purpose. Indeed, yesterday in my meeting with the Secretary General, I urged him to take every available step to escalate the development support to Haiti. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I bring my speech to an end, in order to have time to respond to some of your questions, I hope what I have tried to outline in these few minutes is a new way of working together globally and arguing that embracing, thinking, and consciousness of global Africa can make a difference in facing today's challenges wherever they may occur. And that is why I urge you to reposition Africa and its diaspora in your imaginations if we are truly to bring a new multilateralism to life. Unity on the national and global level is what will enable us to bring peace and prosperity in the world. This is what has inspired my promotion of the idea of the global Africa, an idea whose time, I truly believe, has come. I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you very much.